One lifts you up, one puts you down, and I'm one of those two things, but I don't know which one I am yet. So let's see how this video goes. Welcome back, everybody, to another one of the 31 Days of Horror reviews. Today we're talking about Spell. Now, a brief description of Spell. This movie is pretty much as if Misery met voodoo magic. So keep that in mind. It was a fascinating film. Was it good, though? We'll have to find out. Let's go ahead and play the trailer here as I discuss what the plot is. While flying to his father's funeral in rural Appalachia, an intense storm causes Marquis to lose control of the plane carrying himself and his family. Soon he awakens wounded, alone, and trapped in Miss Eloise's attic. Eloise claims she can nurse him back to health with a hoodoo figure she's made from his blood and skin, and something else that's gross. Unable to call for help, Marquis desperately tries to break free from her dark magic and save his family from a sinister ritual before the rise of the blood moon. Now, this movie had so many great things going into it. It just dropped off in a certain couple of areas for me, and not to say it's not to say it's a bad movie, but it did lack in a lot of things that keep my attention throughout the entire thing. Let's go ahead and discuss the plot. As previously said, the guy that got to play the main actor for Marquis does a fantastic job throughout it. He plays confident well, he played family man well, he played scared and wounded well, and he played enraged well, because it's one of those type of movies where you're going to definitely go through that survivor into final girl mentality, except less, slasher, killing all your friends and family. But the plot itself is really, really good. Not necessarily predictable, but still solid overall. Plot for this probably gets about plot's probably its better points. The plots for the film is actually probably about a 7. It's fascinating, it's interesting, it's the standard I'm too hurt to run away from them. Also, they have this guy that weighs, I don't know, 280, 6'5", and is their strength in the home, which is nutso. So yeah, the plot's about a 7. And pretty much to discuss the plot overall, it's that him and his family have a massive crash, already getting some sorts of weird harbinger vibes from the first place they stopped to get gas in their plane. So a bunch of them are letting them know, you probably shouldn't go up there. And rough stuff happens up there in the Appalachian Mountains. He flies, storm, crashes, horrible things happen. He wakes up and he's completely alone, and only Eloise is there to talk to him. She shows him a small doll that represents him and said she found she was able to starting to make him feel real good by taking bits of his skin. They have his driver's license on it, something else that I'm not going to say here, but we'll just say it's a secretion from something. And pretty much she lets him know, and she has complete control of him. No matter if she is 80 plus years old, she has these 2 little bits of smoke and dust that she can blow in his face and knock him out and bring him back up, which is fascinating, but also it's me digging too much into it. But it's a fascinating premise that even the old can handle you, and if you get past them, you have to handle their groundskeeper pretty much. Things start to get a little bit weirder as he's just constantly trying to ask where his family is, and they let him know that you're probably the only one that survived. And then he starts to freak out and tries to make his way out. They do a lot of good things early on in the film to shows that he knows how to pick locks, that he's had to survive on his own, so he's not just randomly really good at lock picking to get out of this room over and over and over again. He makes his way out to this place where they're having some sort of revival, supposedly. And he witnesses some really dark, gross things involving this woman couldn't talk, so she brings up her doll, puts a cat's tongue in it, pops her jaw, and says, "You can talk now," and she does. Another one more final thing before, and that's where I'll drop with the plot, because it's in the trailer. Woman with no eyes is given 2 sets of goat eyes, which look wild looking for just a second. It's not on there too long. He's able to see, but they sit on top of that little area that was shown in the trailer. But yeah, pretty much those are some of the fascinating things. There is a really gross and rough to watch like gore scene in it when something's in his foot, and it's grody. Besides that, that is the plot, and that is why I rated it a 7. There's some really fascinating things that they do that a lot of other films don't, so that's why it gets a higher thing. Character development, this only takes place over 4 days, so there's not a ton of character development in this film, except for him slowly going back to his roots, even though his father was such a dark and evil-ish evil man for sticking overly true to his old ways and never truly becoming more. He does slowly revert back to learning what his father gave him and using that, realizing that everything in your past that was bad can also be used for good. This character development is 5. Like, it's too short. It's too short to give any character development for these. I'm gonna start dropping character development, I believe, and just mentioning it in the plot and trying to tie the two together. Since I have it on the list currently, it's a 5. The threat overall is, it seems strange to say, but it's not actually the villains in the film, just because it seems as though it's his disability, his inability to walk and perform at 100% versus these old people and their one strong gentleman. So instead, he's having to use his brain and get past everything. So every time he takes a step, and he grunts violently because he has something horribly wrong with his foot. Of course, the old witch is a threat in this as well. So it's hard to describe threat on this. So I'll give it a 6. Like, the 6 on the threat's pretty generous, because she's not necessarily scary. It's the fact that all she has to do is have this doll, and she can be 800 years old, and just like, all right, well, we're gonna go ahead and just we're gonna move this arm off, and you're gonna just see your arm start to go off into another place, whether no strength required. So yeah, threat's probably about a 6. I'll give a 6 to that. Scares, there's a couple that actually got me, but it was just how it was filmed, having someone run off screen or run from off screen to tackle someone as you're hiding. You see somebody walk past and you can see where he is and that they're just lightly looking away. They do a couple of good things with that. There's not a ton of them, so I'm not going to give this a necessarily high score. It's probably about a 5. Sound effects, unfortunately, the sound for this film was where it really started to tank. It seems like they never let anything breathe without a full orchestra or a loud music behind it. Like, it was just all the time they used that, and they did a lot of like furry lens, or like that little blurred lens, and that also is a no-no for me. Sound effects on this get probably about a 3, and it really hurt for a lot of the movie because there's rarely any quiet in it. They don't let anything breathe. It's just suffocated with sound. Is it newbie approved? I mean, probably. I would say yes. It's not necessarily a scary film. There's gross body horror in it. So if you don't like body horror, this is a no-no. Absolutely don't watch this. It's just overall feeling of like nervousness instead of like, oh my gosh, it's so scary. So it's probably newbie approved. Would I recommend this to somebody? I would say once. I'll allow people to watch it one time and let me get their thought process behind it, because it's well filmed. Unfortunately, they just ruined it with a lot of extra sound and just convoluted the actual filming process of it. So like I said, one time watch it. I will never just go back and say I really want to watch that again and see if I catch anything new. No, they kind of lay it all out there for you. So overall score for this one is probably, like, I really enjoyed the main actor. I'd probably get about a 5.7. Like, there's I'd probably get about a 6 flat. Like, I can't, 5.9. Like, I enjoyed the film. It was a good run through, but the music threw me off really bad, and I don't know. Like, it was just okay. Like, that's all I can really give it. Like, I'm sorry. It's just okay. So yeah, that spell. I'm Griticus, and I'll see you next time. Stay scared. Take care. Peace.